Okay, hello, welcome to the video. My name is Wade Smith, and I am or was a black belt candidate in Nishinryu Karate about 26 years ago. Um, I, honest to God, the only reason I never got my black belt is I had to quit for personal and family reasons. If I had stuck with it for another 6 months, I probably would have gotten my black belt. But uh, I had to quit for personal and family reasons, and it's also one of the biggest regrets in my life. What I want to talk about here is why MMA fighters don't do this. They understand the value of leg kicks, calf kicks, and regular leg kicks to like the thigh, but for some reason they don't understand the value of attacking the forearms and the biceps of your opponent, uh, built into your blocking and boxing out. Using techniques that are built into your blocking and boxing out. You don't have to make a big stretch to actually do this. Um, And for example, I queried a bot about this, and the bot claimed that there's too small of a targets. BS. The biceps is no smaller than your chin. It's actually a bigger target than your chin or your nose. So it might be smaller than the head in total, but it's a bigger target than your chin, and it's also 5 inches closer to your chin when the person's punch is extended. So first of all, make sure that they don't hit you in the head, but counterattack their forearm or their biceps. Believe me, I've had it happen to me in sparring full contact when I was a second degree brown belt. Uh, the black belts were still good enough to do this to me back then compared to me. But whenever by the time I was testing for my black belt, they could no longer land this on me. But they could hit you in the biceps and it would deaden your arm for a good 5 to 10 seconds. And during that 5 to 10 seconds, you're pretty well useless, aren't you? And then you get beat. All right. So don't tell me that it doesn't work because I've had it done on me before. I know that it does work. It's like telling somebody that the sky is, not blue. That they would have to be a liar, wouldn't they? Because you know that the sky is blue. Um, you know. So and I don't know where they are, but I've got a set of 5 ounce or either 4 or 5 ounce UFC legal gloves somewhere around here. I actually have two pair of them. Uh, but they don't modify the mechanics of a karate chop to the biceps that much. They really don't. They're more to protect your hand than they are to protect the other person's face or body. Um, and I wish they would do away with the gloves in the UFC and the tape and just fight bare knuckle. Because there would actually be a wider variety of grappling techniques used in the MMA if there wasn't so many gloves rules and tape rules. All right. So but I know this works. We used to drill it because it works in self-defense, and if it works in self-defense, it works in a prize fight. Okay? Uh so it's the same principle as deadening your opponent's legs, except that the bicep muscle is a lot weaker than your legs, and it can only take one or two hits before it's deadened. Like I say, if you can't hold standing guard, you're screwed in a prize fight. So, go ahead and work on that. And like I said, don't get hit by the punch. Make sure, first of all, first priority is defense always, but your second priority is counterattack. And again, it's easier to hit here than it is to hit here in the face because it's 5 or 6 inches closer to you. It's easier to hit here at the end of the extended punch than it is to hit your opponent in the face. And if you hit here a couple times, it will deaden their forearms and they won't be able to throw a jab or a cross correctly. All right. So, and you're not modifying your entire style to do something that's that out of the difference from just boxing out and blocking as usual. All right. So it's like doing applying Kodagashi off the jab. They say some of the supposed experts say don't do that. I used to beat the black belts when I was testing for black belt. I used to beat the second degree black belts by doing Kotegaeshi in the front wrist lock, which Kotegaeshi is just a full wrist lock. But I would catch their punch, either their jab or their cross or their hook, and apply Kotegaeshi or the front wrist lock, either one, and get the tap standing up against them. In the times that they didn't tap right on out, I was able to finish them off by kicking them a few times or kneeing them to the body while I had the lock on them, and then they would tap. So those are some examples of things that you don't see in MMA that you should be seeing in MMA if the fighters actually knew real Okinawan and Japanese martial arts like they should know. It's supposed to be mixed martial arts. They're supposed to know everything, or at least they think they do, and they don't. I mean, it's kind of amazing that I don't think they're the best fighters in the world anyway in MMA. I think the best fighters in the world tend to be the humble senseis that don't even compete in the thing. The ones that are in about their mid 30s, early to mid 30s, and that don't even compete in MMA are probably actually better fighters than the ones that are all badass cussing one another out over the internet and over interviews and everything else, how they're going to beat one another's ass and everything else. A good fighter doesn't have to jaw at one another. A good fighter is just a good fighter and can keep their mouth shut, especially if they really know their stuff. You shouldn't have to jaw at one another. Prove it in the ring, or else prove it by teaching somebody something. Um, but uh, and by the way, I can teach people how to fight MMA. I was trained by a gentleman who was a fourth dan in Okinawan karate and Japanese jiu-jitsu, and he was at the time already a first degree black belt in Gracie jiu-jitsu, and he was at the time already max certified in Krav Maga, max level in Krav Maga, not just certified to teach, but max level in Krav Maga. And his first black belt was actually a Shotokan black belt, because he was in fact a second degree Shotokan black belt, because he started Shotokan as his first martial art when he was 12 years old, and then he joined the Marine Corps when he was old enough to join the Marine Corps. And after he got out the Marine Corps, he joined an Okinawan karate school, uh, and ranked up very quickly because an expert at learning. Basically, is how I want to say, an expert at learning. He just absorbed this stuff like he was a sponge in his life. If you every training session, and I attended 5 nights a week, 3 hours per night, for 4.5 years. Every training session, you were guaranteed to learn at least two more techniques that you had never seen before, two more submission techniques that you had never seen before. And if two escapes were known for every technique that they taught you two escapes if the two were known. And you're guaranteed to learn at least one escape for everything, but generally they teach you two ways to get out of every submission, because there's no such thing as an unbreakable submission. All right. Um, but yeah, if it works on kicking your legs out from under you, it works on attacking your arms. And this isn't obvious to people, I don't know. This isn't boxing where it's actually illegal to attack the arms and parry the arms, so attack the arms. Now, this does not work on black belts, so I can see why it doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't work very well against black belts. It's not that it can't happen. It's just that if unless they overextend themselves, it's not going to happen. Where, like, if they throw a punch and you slip their standing guard and you immediately take their back from standing position, we might drill that for self-defense purposes, assuming we have an unskilled attacker. But for pro fighters, I realize that's not going to work 99% of the time. So I can totally understand why that doesn't happen in pro fighting, because somewhere around dark green to purple belt, you should get good enough that you don't just give up your back from your standing guard. I mean, it uh, so certainly by the time you're a brown belt or black belt and a pro fighter, you shouldn't be giving up your back from standing guard. It just shouldn't happen. You shouldn't be overextending that badly. But yeah, it's actually easier to hit here than it is to hit here because this is 5 or 6 inches closer. Okay. And the bot was like, it's a small target. And I'm like, it's no smaller than your chin. A bicep is, well, it's not as big as your leg muscles, but the bicep stretches all the way from the tendon right here at your elbow all the way up into your shoulder. You know, it's a big target. It's bigger than your chin, and it's 5 inches closer. Proximity matters in fighting. If you can't hit somebody in the face, hit them in the in the bicep or in the forearm. If you can't land it, you know, and plus, I wasn't suggesting that you go into a fight like some kind of robot and just try to focus fire their arms, which, you know, it's a technique that can be used, is all I'm saying. And you never see it get used because for some reason it gets overlooked and it shouldn't get overlooked. It should be pretty obvious. All right. I think I've spent 11 minutes on this with a little bit of sidetracking. But that's the end of the video. Thank you very much.